Cool. So I'm Josh McCormack, and I was the fight coordinator. The moment where it's kind of all gone a bit wrong, and everyone is like shouting and blaming each other, and everyone has a bit of an expression of violence. Let's call it that, because it's not quite a fight, but it's like, it's enough. I actually did my whole kind of degree in like fight training, because I did it at East 15. I went to drama school and did the like acting and stage combat BA. So I trained like pretty extensively under like a man called Gordon Kemp, who is like one of the best I think that, but it is also true that he's kind of one of the best. He's like one of the best fight coordinators and fight teachers in the world, I would say. But yeah, so I kind of so I did that. I did like 3 years of that, and was quite lucky that I was able to kind of do things in amongst that. I kind of didn't come into it completely blind, because I'd always done kind of like martial arts, and I was a professional wrestler for a while as well. So it was all kind of a bit like so it all sort of fed into each other quite a bit, and it was actually one of the reasons I kind of went to study stage combat in the first place. And then since like graduating, I've done a few different things really. I've done like a few fight jobs on like various things, kind of big and small. I stunt coordinated like a few videos for like fairly big YouTubers and stuff, which is pretty cool. I've been on a few films, and it's been really fun. Like being a fight coordinator is great, because it's like the only thing about it is that it's like you often don't get a chance to do a lot of the stuff that you not like trained to do, but like because we spent like 3 years in and amongst like people, basically, because we were all training to do the same thing. We all just wanted to do like the most mental things all the time, and it's quite rare that stuff gets a chance to happen. So sometimes it's a bit like you're a bit like, oh, I wish I could do like some amazing like the corridor fight scene from Old Boy or something. But it's always really good. It's always really fun. Like even on the days when people kind of make it a bit more real than not, it's really good. One of the things that we were always told was that like there are going to be people like, basically I have a lot of friends who've been on a lot of things, and obviously I won't like say anything too detailed, but like I have friends who've like turned up to fight like the stars of big TV shows, and they've just kind of been like, oh yeah, cool, we'll just like do it and whatever. And I think because you spend a lot of time like focusing so much on like things need to be as safe as possible, when you're dealing with people who are just kind of like either not as aware of their bodies, or they just are like, they want it to look really good, so they're just like, oh well, like, you're the fight person, you'll be fine. So yeah, it's why pads exist. It's why like there's big money in like fight and stunt like pad equipment, like elbow pads and back pads and spine protectors and stuff. Yeah. So like that was mainly because it's like a back thing, and like I think there may have been some people who like maybe wouldn't have used it for that, but I just kind of always like to err on the side of caution, particularly when it's like backs and spines and stuff, and because they're important, and when something goes wrong with your back, it goes really wrong. As like someone who has had that happen, when I was a professional wrestler and stuff, like I've had things where I've like jarred my back really badly, and I've always been kind of like pretty much okay, but I've had friends who have like seriously hurt themselves and stuff. And so it kind of, for me, it's a bit of like when anything comes like spine or head related, I'm like, as many pads as we can get away with. But part of that was because Lewis was going like backwards into like a corner of a filing cabinet, which isn't the nicest thing in the world. So I was like, well, you never know. And also because like people get excited, like it's a weird like double-edged sword with pads and stuff, because you kind of give it to them to make people safe, but then people are like, oh, I've got a big massive thing of rubber on, so I'm invincible, so they'll just do it harder. And you're like, oh fuck, okay. How old am I now? 26. And I started doing it when I was like 17, 18. Because I like kind of reconnected with a friend, and we kind of both got back into it because I'd always watched it as a kid and stuff. And I had happened to meet someone who became my trainer, but I'd like met him years before. And I just like looked him up, and we went, and it was like, yeah, it was really cool. It was like everything in my life for a while. It was like all I wanted to do, and it was like that was like what I wanted to make my career into, was being a professional wrestler. And then I moved away, and I stopped doing it for a while, just because where I lived there was like nowhere super close. And then by the time I'd gone back, it kind of just, I wasn't about it anymore. And also by this point I'd already started kind of like looking into what I do now, and I realized like there's a lot more money and a lot more safety in what I do now. So I was like, oh, I'll probably stick to doing that then. The thing that excited me the most going into it was like how, I don't know how this is going to make me sound, but like how modern it is, because it's like it's a very diverse cast of people, but it's also like the writing isn't like focused on that. I don't know. It always feels like if people are slightly like outside of the like, you know, what people expect to see from films and stuff, and what like Hollywood tends to put forward, then it seems to be like the only thing that thing focuses on. Whereas like this, it was really nice to just like have cast and characters that were from all over the kind of like queer and disability spectrum, and that not be like the point of their characters. It just be like, oh, those are just the actors that are playing these characters. These characters don't actually like, it's not the whole centerpiece of who they are. And also, yeah, and genuinely just like how enthusiastic and professional like everyone was. Because I like turned up, and I've been on like professional sets where people are less like passionate about what's going on, and less like professional about like making sure it's good and making sure it's like you know, and just making sure it's the best thing it could possibly be, really. So that was really, really nice. Like when most things you like, because I feel like with most things people are doing it for a job, so it's always nice to kind of, as much as people care about it, it's always nice to be on something where people are like truly, truly passionate about it. And it super was that, and it was great, and I can't wait to actually see the final thing, because I think that's really going to come through, and like, yeah, and I think it's going to be a bit of a rarity in a lot of short, as someone who sees a lot and seems to like work on a lot of short films, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a sort of rarity, like a good one. I often describe myself as a very middle of the road child. I don't like, because I wasn't like super cool and rebellious, but I also wasn't like, I definitely didn't enjoy school. But I tended to get in trouble for like, I got in trouble for like talking a lot. That was the big one for me. I never got in trouble for necessarily like being like breaking the rules, but like, as in like, I was never caught like smoking or doing anything. But the thing that always got leveled at me was basically just that like, they were just like, you talk all the time and you often want to be the center of attention, and like I got called a class clown a lot, which I think explains you know, becoming an actor and a professional wrestler, and being like, and the most fun I have in the world is like in groups of people where like people are having a good time. I don't really know, to be honest. I think like I certainly knew a lot of people who were like people in the film. Yeah, like I don't really know. I think like Lewis's character the thing of like there's a moment in the scene that we filmed in the fight scene, the bit where they like run in, and they've clearly just been doing something, and they like run in, and he's like, "Oh, you're right, team." That was a little bit like, I think at times that was me, but less like publicly. I think there was a good few times when I would kind of be doing something and I'd just like stop doing it at the last minute. But then there were also lots of other times that that didn't happen. Oh, so I had to take a while to think about this because heist films are actually like some of my favourite films ever. I really like them. I think Heat is always a classic because it's like the heist movie. You know, it's like the big like Christmas dinner of heist movies where it's like it's 2.5 hours, it's Al Pacino, it's Robert De Niro, it's like, you know, it's great. It's really, really good. So it's kind of the classic that you have to enjoy. But I think the two that are always like ones that I'm like, I think these are actually my two, are Point Break, the original one with Keanu Reeves. You know, you can't have a film and you call a character Johnny Utah and it like not be good. It's like, I just, you know, it's great. But yeah, so Point Break, or there's a movie called Inside Man, which is really good because it's just like, in terms of like twist endings to a heist film, it's like one of the best. It's got like Clive Owen and like Jodie Foster in it, and it's yeah, that one is really good. Like when I was a kid, when I was about 13, I think 13, 14, I literally like over the course of like 2 weeks once, I watched it like every day. So in like 2 weeks, I watched it like 14 times because I just was like, this movie's so good. So I've just finished a music video for I think I can say what it is because it's not actually out yet. I'm not actually spoiling anything. It's for a rapper called Obi, and it's for his song Message in a Hammer, which like I think is going to be really, really good. Like he's a really cool like up and coming dude. He's like supported like Stormzy and the Section Boys. What else have I got coming up? I've got quite a few things coming up actually. For all of September, I'm working on I'm finally back in a theatre, which is really nice. I'm doing Romeo and Juliet. I'm playing Mercutio, which I think is going to be really, really cool because it's like live theatre after like 2 years or something. It's like, yeah, I think it's been like over 2 years since I've done theatre, obviously because of COVID and stuff. So that'll be really, really cool. And yeah, other than that, it's same old stuff really. It's more chasing work than anything. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. I'm busy for at least like a month or so. Oh, and I've got some like fight work on a hitherto untitled project, which is a very big film from a very big director. But that's literally all I'm allowed to say about it. But it's really cool. It's really exciting because it's like one of my favorite directors as well. And I was like, I got offered the chance, and I was like, yes. I took it like without even questioning it. I was like, of course. I'm gonna be pretty busy, but like, you know, particularly at the moment, I try not to moan about being busy. So that's what I'm doing. It's looking pretty cool. I feel like at times the misconception of like particularly being an actor or whatever is like, oh well, it's either big or it's nothing. And I feel like that sort of middle ground where 90% of working actors exist, which is just like journeyman actors or journey women actors to, you know, even like, yeah, working actors who like who just work and who just make a living out of it and just make a living off doing like theatre and small things and bit parts. I myself am aiming to be in big things like for Netflix and Marvel and all that stuff, but it's not because I think that that's the only way to feel successful. It's just because a lot of cool stuff happens with those companies, but also a lot of really cool stuff happens literally just with like 2 people and a camera and a really good idea. Yeah, knowing that like failing is like it always sounds really cliche, but it's like, it's knowing that failing is like 99% of success in doing this. Is that like getting it wrong is like, you know, as long as no one's getting hurt and no one's getting injured and like no one's dying or you're like ruining a film, either as an actor or whatever, it's like that's all a part of it, you know. Like I think I'm a better actor from the past 3 months of meeting just loads of different actors from loads of different places and loads of different people who have ended up playing, like, they're playing bigger roles than me and they're not even actors. They're just like people who looked right. But, you know, you can't be bitter about that. It's the nature of the game. And yeah, knowing that it's okay that it's going to take time. I think if you want to like take a quote from what I say and put it over a picture of a mountain, then that would be it. Like, it will take time and that's okay.